Public hearing to order. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Thursday, July 18th, 2019 at 8:30 a.m. in the Common Council Chambers, City Hall, Syracuse, New York, to consider whether the property located at 429 North State Street should be recommended for designation as a local protected site pursuant to the zoning rules and regulations of the City of Syracuse as amended. The Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board, in exercising its powers and duties pursuant to Part C, Section 7, Articles 1 through 9, inclusive of the zoning rules and regulations of the City of Syracuse, to determine if the building or structure shall be designated as a protected site, shall consider the following: association with persons or events of historic significance to the city, region, state, or nation; illustrative of historic growth and development of the city, region, state, or nation; or in the case of structures embodying distinctive characteristics of type, period, or method of construction, or representing the work of a master, or possessing unique architectural and artistic qualities, or representing a significant and distinguishable entity whose component may lack individual distinction; and in the case of interiors, possessing one or more of the characteristics enumerated in 1, 2, or 3 above, and in addition embodying distinctive characteristics of architectural scale, form, visual homogeneity, which are an integral part of the character of the structure in which the space is contained. Persons wishing to appear may do so in person or by attorney. Communication in writing in relation thereto may be filed with the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board, 201 East Washington Street, room 512, Syracuse, New York, 13202, or at such hearing. And I am Donald Radke, Chairman of the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board. The process will be as follows. Those wishing to speak in favor of the designation will be asked to do so, and those wishing to speak in opposition to the designation will have an opportunity to do so. I caution everybody to keep your comments pertinent to what I just read and to keep them as efficient in length of time as possible. So we'll start with those.
Do you want to mention also public on TV? You might mention that part of it.
Okay. Yes, all of our hearings the mayor's moved to be as transparent as possible. We're live streamed, so everything we say and do is open to the public. So those wishing to speak in favor of the designation, please come forward one at a time. Who would like to speak in favor of the designation? Okay. Please give us your name and address.
I'm George Angella. I live at 15 Sunset Terrace in Baldwinsville, New York. I'm the great-grandson of Angelo Angella, who built the building in question. He was an Italian immigrant that came to Syracuse in the early 1890s as a laborer. Shortly after, opened a grocery store and then a tavern. That tavern was on the same site as this building is today. In 1904, he built that structure as a tavern. It was called the Crown Cafe. The reason it was a Crown Cafe is because Bartell Brewing Company, one of the major brewers in Syracuse at that time, I don't know exactly how to put this, sponsored him, helped him to build that structure. At that time, every brewery had what was called tied houses. They were called tied houses because they were tied to a specific brewery, be that Haberly, Zetz, Bartell, whoever. The Angella building was tied to the Bartell Brewing Company. And I'm certain that Bartell, at very least, provided all the equipment inside, including the bar, all the renovation inside, all the amenities, advertising equipment. They wanted to make these places nice so that the area would do major business for that. Syracuse has not been very good to the brewing architectural portion of the brewing history in Syracuse. We've lost almost every brewing structure, with the exception of Zetz, which is in very poor condition and going to be coming down. portion of Greenways that is now an Art Deco building instead of a Victorian building. And there is the newer Greenway building on Park Street that's still there as well. But we haven't maintained the brewing history. This was an important part of the brewing history. It's the only building I know of that still stands today built as a tied house for one of the breweries. I believe in your packet you have photos that show the inside of the bar. In the back bar mirror, in great big letters, says Bartell Brewing Company, Crown Beer, Syracuse, New York. That was there because it was a tied house for Bartell Brewing Company. I believe that's significant. More than that, in 1890, when my great-grandfather came, he was one of the first Italians to come to Syracuse, to settle in Syracuse. That area on State Street became the hub of the Italian immigrant community. Behind it on Pearl Street was the regional market at the time, and I'm sure that is one of the reasons why that group of people located in that area. But basically, the Italian American community grew there. When my great-grandfather built that building, it was used on the upper floors to bring people from Italy into the Syracuse area. They would sponsor families, they would bring them here, they would settle them. Those people would eventually do better, buy their own homes, move out into the community. Also, the building on Pearl Street was built by my great-grandfather in 1911. And I've heard people say there's no continuity for that building, and that may be true on State Street, but if you look at from the Belden Street side, the second photo that has the car in it, if you look down the Belden Street side, that photo is probably right around 1912, 14. It's exactly the same as it exists today, and that's true of what's there on Pearl Street as well. So there is continuity in this district. I think it's very important to the Italian-American heritage in Syracuse. I think it's very important to the brewing history in Syracuse, and I urge you strongly to protect this building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else interested in speaking in favor of the designation? Again, please give us your name and address.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Jonathan Link Logan. I live at 141 Lilac Street. I'm here today on behalf of the North Setup program, which is part of Center State CEO, and I have a letter to read. The designation of a local protected site is a delicate task, striking a balance between progress and history. Incorporating a number of factors, a clear-cut answer is not ensured to emerge. At first glance, 429 North State Street may seem just like any other turn-of-the-century building found on the north side. Brick, multiple stories, offering the potential for a mix of commercial and residential uses. Upon closer examination, this building offers characteristics distinguishing it from its peers. The first to note is the color of the brick, which is not traditional red clay, but rather a yellow or tan hue. Next is the banding and other architectural elements that provide unique detailing, demonstrating the pride of the original owner when constructing it. The building uses a mix of bricks and stone to respond to the site's grade change along Belden Street, influencing the overall form and function. Lastly, the building's facade prominently displays an element commemorating its original developer, Angella, and the building's first use as a tied house. To this day, the building remains true to its origins, providing food and beverage to visitors and neighborhood residents alike. Historic significance is often judged by the passage of time, on occasion making the ordinary extraordinary. The Angellaros have a long history on the north side and continue to shape the current physical and business environment. While they no longer own 429 North State Street, their history and impact on the neighborhood remains intrinsically tied to the site. Today, the family owns several businesses along the North Salina Street corridor and operate a number of buildings along the North Salina Street corridor and operate a number of businesses that help to draw visitors to the neighborhood's commercial district. With the loss of 4 historic buildings along the North Salina Street corridor district in August of 2018, it would be a shame to lose another historic building. In addition to the fire, other instances of unnecessary demolition and property disinvestment have continued to erode the historic fabric we must guard against. Particularly at a time when communities and indeed other neighborhoods in Syracuse are leveraging their historic assets as the foundation of successful revitalization efforts. A recent local example of blending new and historic development is the Sylvester Building project on the corner of Irving and Fayette Streets. Northside Up and its partners worked with the developers of the Dunkin' Donuts to create a project that met both parties' goals. We stand ready to work with the developer to create a successful project on this site, one that incorporates the existing structure while searching for creative ways to implement a transformational project that increases property and sales taxes. We strongly urge you to designate this as the local protected site. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else interested in speaking? Again, please give us your name and address.
Hi, my name's Andrea Wanda. I live at 139 Cook Avenue. I'm the executive director of NEDA, the Northeast Holly Development Association, and we'd like to express our concern about the potential of this building being demolished if it's not designated as a local protected site. As you know, NEDA has a long history of working on the north side, bringing different parties together to maintain and develop north side neighborhoods and business corridors. Obviously, there's nothing I can say that can top what George has contributed here today. But over the years, there have been neighbors, business members, agencies, all working together to maintain and enhance the fabric of this historic neighborhood. We see this building as an important part of the fabric of the neighborhood, and we think it would be just a terrible, terrible loss that we'd pay for years to come if anything were to happen to this particular building. We have a lot of vacant lots. We have a lot of characterless buildings. There's been a lot of work done to protect other historic buildings on the north side, and we'd like this building to be included in that. We certainly appreciate the importance of new development and fully support the idea of something new going in on State Street. We'd just love to see that plan incorporate the historic building instead of removing it.
Thank you.
I have a letter from myself, and I also have a letter from Michael Collins, the Executive Director of the Syracuse Northeast Community Center.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the designation? There being none, anybody looking to speak in opposition to the designation? Okay. Again, please give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Sheila Weed. I'm an architect with Group 1 Design, 317 South Collingwood Avenue. My client who owns all the vacant property and 429 is Tino Marcoscia, Italian at least. We have done engineering and looking at the site. What he wants to do for the site is build a new building, 4 stories, mixed use on the first floor, and housing on the second floor. We're looking to have underground basement parking, and because of the location of the foundation, keeping that and how we would have to engineer, we wouldn't be able to utilize that idea of having basement parking, and he feels that the building wouldn't be as marketable without some kind of local parking, which is tough in that area. It's hard for me to stand here, but I'm going to try my hardest here. All buildings have a story. Even my house is 100 years old. So, and I did the report, and so I know the story. We plan on reusing. There's many Italianate house buildings in Syracuse. I'm not saying that we don't need one more, but
Thank you.
Thank you.
the story behind it is unique, but we have particularly 300 through 308 Holly Ave. They're all on the National Register. So we have other Italianate, but not with this story. We planned on reusing the stone from the face of the building, the 1904 plaque, and the bar in the new building. When we read, and we have drawings that the city has seen in pre-development meetings, we plan on putting a restaurant back on that corner. And so we planned on reusing the bar and things inside in the new location. And the current person who runs the restaurant is well aware of everything we're doing, and they want to come back and continue running it when the new building is built, if it is. So I've been through the building. The upper floors are damaged from water damage in the roof. So we are requesting that we be able to take down this building and have a site that we can use for parking and a multi-use building. Yes. And that's what we need. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else looking to speak in opposition to the designation? Hearing none, before I close, I want to also mention that there's 2 other letters in support of the designation, one from the Preservation Association of Central New York and one from Housing Visions, and they will be submitted to the record. Any other comments? Then this public hearing is closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for your comments and information. Very helpful.
We'll have just a short recess before we go to our regularly scheduled meeting.
Great story, George.
Thank you.
You knew it well.
It's